Let me share my screen. All right. So let me know, guys. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
You can see it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so let me go here. Go to present full screen. Boom. So welcome to Money Monday, guys. Super excited. Let's do it. Okay. So before we even talk about anything to do with the business, I want to talk about a couple things that I heard over this weekend at church, and just something that's been on my heart. It's been on my mind, and I just think it's really important we just kind of just talk about this for a second, because it really, your mindset in business, especially in this business, is huge. It's kind of the glue that holds everything together. You can know all the right words to say, you can know all the products, you can know everything, but if you don't have a good mindset and a clear head and a good perspective when approaching it, doesn't mean that it's going to work. Okay, so really quick here, I'm going to talk about conquering fear. Now, one thing that's really cool is every single person on here has the courage to face rejection. Most people won't even face rejection. They won't even confront that, right? And in sales, right, and what we do, we face rejection every single day, over and over and over. The best people face the most rejection. And I think it's really cool that all of us on here have that courage to face rejection. And this is something I heard, in a sermon yesterday. I was like, wow, this really applies to the business. I want to pass this message on, because I've never even thought about that as myself, as somebody like that. So, guys, just pat yourself on the back for a second, just knowing you guys all have the courage to be able to, do something like this, which is already, a win in itself. A couple things to think about here is also, we must pass the test of rejection to know what's inside of us, right? So it's like, when you get told no, like what is your reaction to that? Like, what's your relationship with rejection? If you hear all these stories about like how, I got rejected, some of the biggest companies in the world, hey, we got turned down, 20 times by this many different companies for funding, and nobody saw our vision. And if those people would have stopped, there's a million examples out there. I can't think of one right now, but like, if those people would have stopped there, then they would have never became what it is that their vision was. And so we have to pass the test of rejection every single day to know what is inside of us as, business, as, sales agents, as business owners, and so we have to pass that rejection test every single day. And that's what makes our character, right? So what character are you trying to play? Like, what character are you, when you get past that rejection? Because if you can figure out what's inside of you by going through more and more rejection, you're going to become, I think, the best version of yourself. That's because when you face rejection, it's uncomfortable. When you're uncomfortable, you grow. So I think that's really important. Whatever voices you listen to will define you. So are you listening to negative people in your lives? Who are the people around you? What are they saying? And are you listening to them? Because you can hear things, but it doesn't mean you're listening to them. So you can kind of hear people, but you don't listen, right? There's a difference between that. And I think you guys need to just be aware of going into the week of, hey, what are you listening to? Whether that's even like podcasts, or are you listening to the news? Like, what are you listening to? It could be other things. And then also, what people are you listening to? And sometimes you got to change that between hearing and listening. So make sure you're listening to the right people and the positive things that are going to uplift you and make you feel good, right? Rather than listening to, negativity, stuck in the news, things like that. People around you, it might be close people around you that are negative. You got to just be able to hear them, but not listen to them. So think about that. Last two things I want to talk about is fear compromises the calling in our lives. If we live under this pretense of having fear about everything, or what if it doesn't work out? What if the leads don't answer? What if I buy the leads? what if they don't answer? What if they don't want it? What if this? What if that? And you're scared. That's okay, because we all are going to have some fear, but the fear compromises the calling in our lives. So you need to be able to push through that fear and don't be scared and have the courage to face rejection of whatever that might be. You might buy the leads, and yeah, nobody might answer them. If you have a terrible attitude and you don't lead with faith, you don't lead with professional, like that might be what happens. But if instead of living in this fear, try to go into this faith mindset of like, okay, I have faith that if I do this and I follow the system and I come to the trainings and I read the script and I do the trainings and I do what I'm supposed to do, and I care about the clients and we do what we're supposed to do, everything's going to work out. And if you work under that faith instead of that fear, I promise you, this business gets a lot easier and a lot more fun. So, and not only just the business, these are things you guys can do in all your lives. And so fear compromises the calling in our lives. So don't let your calling be taken from you and what you want to do in your life through fear. And this isn't just the business. This is like as simple as, being the kid in school that is scared to go ask a girl on a date. You know what I mean? Like it boils down to even little decisions like that every single day. So fear compromises the calling in our life. So don't let fear run your life, and don't be scared to face rejection. Last thing, a verse I really liked. Here, when I'm afraid, I put my trust in you, in God, whose word I praise, in God I trust. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? So I just think that's so good, because it's like, man, it's just people. It's just people. Like it's just people. It's just a voice. It's just, man can't do anything. What are you going to do for yourself and through God? I'm not trying to preach here, guys. You guys can believe in whatever you want. That's just the message in this, I think, is really powerful. And so I want you guys to just move through the week with this this mindset and just be thinking about this every single day. And it's good to remember these things and move forward. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna get to the training. If you guys do like doing more stuff like that too, I will incorporate that every single week. I'm trying to make this like fun, and I'm trying to make this really valuable for you guys in more way than just like, what to say and what to do. So if you guys like that, let me know. If you guys want to hear more stuff like that, let me know. But okay, so here's our appointment timeline. We're going to keep referring back to this every single week, because if you can master these 9 steps, you're going to sell every single person that actually is a buyer. Okay, if you do all these things correctly, there's going to be no reason for them not to buy from you. So last week we talked about building value, showing the options. Today we're going to be talking about the suitability. I wanted to do an underwriting training, but I think the suitability leads into the underwriting. And it's a little bit of underwriting. We'll talk about it just a little bit, but we're not going to do a full underwriting training. But this is just going to be the suitability, how to do it correctly, and especially how to do it virtually. Because our guys that are virtual, it's different because you're not sitting there looking at the client, right? So for me, somebody that's done in-home for 3 years and now switching over to virtual, I've had my struggles of a little bit with the underwriting and the suitability. And I know other people on here have too. And that's why we're doing this training, is because you're not sitting there looking at them. So you got to ask certain things, and there's different things you got to do on the suitability sheet a little bit. So this is the suitability sheet. If you guys don't know, this is the virtual client one. I use one that's really similar to this, but this one's better. And the reason I think it's better is just because it's all listed out. Once you memorize everything under heart, liver, lungs, kidney, miscellaneous knockout questions, that's like the main thing that's all written out. So that's why I like this one. Now, what are your objectives? Oops. Let's go back here. Ignore number 6 there. I was gonna maybe add something else, but I forgot to delete it. But okay, so these are your objectives of what you're trying to do on the suitability sheet, because some people just think you're just asking questions, filling it out, and then gonna just whatever product fits. But it's like there's other things you can be doing in suitability, I think, a professional would be doing, that's actually going to make you different from a lot of the other agents these people have ever talked to. Okay. And this is you're going to already start to build trust and credibility, not through a piece of paper, but the questions you're asking and how you're being a professional. So number one thing we're trying to do on the suitability sheet, we're trying to figure out their budget. Why is it important to know their budget? Well, because if we don't know what numbers to show them, they could want it. Everything makes sense. We have a great product and everything. But if you show them numbers that are really, really high, too high, they're not going to buy it, even if it makes sense. They just can't afford it, right? Or it can go the opposite way. You show them numbers that are so low, yeah, they're going to buy it, but they actually are underinsured. They might need more insurance and they can afford more insurance. And so why don't you help the client put in the best position? And then also you can make a commission off of what you're doing and actually make it right. So instead of selling a bunch of like $20 or $30 policies, start selling those, bigger policies, right? And now I'm not saying to just sell bigger policies. I'm telling you, you need to figure out what's on their budget, because it's not about your commission. It's about, are you actually helping them? So something to keep in mind. So knowing what numbers to show, we'll talk about that a little bit. Second thing is figure out what products they might qualify for. Pretty straightforward. These are all of our main products. Okay. If you guys don't have this, you can screenshot this. These are the main products, and I love this slide. I used the slide last week that Haley made. We're going to keep going back to this slide because I think this is really, really, really key to know what you're doing, because as you're navigating through the suitability sheet, I'm thinking, okay, is this a term? Is this a whole life? Is this an IUL? Because I might sit down with the client, they go, I want a term, I want a term, I want a term. But as I start going through the suitability sheet, they can't, let's look at the term life. No criminal or drug history in the last 5 to 10 years. Well, they got a felony 3 years ago, right? And I figure that out on the suitability sheet. I'm not going term life. So now when I'm talking to the client, I'm figuring that out. I'm talking about whole life. I'm starting to talk about why whole life is a better option for them and what they're looking for. And they don't need that much coverage of a term, right? So it's those little things that already in the suitability sheet, because I've made the mistake before of talking about like an IUL with a client, and I don't do a good enough job on the suitability sheet. So I'm talking about an IUL. I'm starting to build the value while I'm going through it a little bit. Talking about, they're asking questions. We're talking about an IUL. Oh, you're gonna love, we have a product in IUL. You're gonna get more death benefit. You're gonna get this. You're gonna get that. And then all of a sudden, oh, they had a drug history, 2 years ago. Oh, dang, I just built up an IUL and now I got to backpedal down to a whole life, which is, still a great product, but it's more expensive. It's not as, sexy as an IUL as far as, to be able to sell. Right. So doing the suitability sheet is going to stop you from shooting yourself in the foot also, if that makes sense. So we're going to figure out what products they might qualify for. Number 3, and I'll be taking notes on these two guys. You need to show them that you're a professional. Okay. They need to understand, like, you've done this a million times, and that even if you have it, right. And just show them you're a professional. So how can you be a professional? Common medications, right? I do this all the time, and I try to do this every single appointment, and this builds this like credibility and trust that piece of paper of that license can't really do. Like it does. Like obviously it's like, hey, here's my copy of my license. Cool. They can look it up. It is what it is, right? But you're showing them with your actions, the way you speak and the way you're going about it, how much they can trust you because you're a professional. So one thing is common medications. So as I'm going through the suitability sheet, right, I'm asking them, hey, what do you have? Are you diagnosed with any high blood pressure? Yeah, I have high blood pressure. Awesome. And then I just start saying common medication, like, oh, you taking lisinopril, metoprolol, amlodipine, right? And they go, oh yeah, it's amlodipine. I go, okay, great, perfect. Now, are you diagnosed with any cholesterol? Are you taking any like atorvastatin, rosuvastatin, anything like that? Yeah, I'm taking atorvastatin. Okay, cool. You're diagnosed with diabetes. Yeah, I got diabetes. Cool. Are you taking metformin, glipizide, Jardiance, or are you taking the insulin for that? I'm taking Jardiance and I take insulin. Okay, you taking Humalog or you taking Victoza? What are you taking? Oh, I'm taking Humalog. Yeah. Okay. So it's like I'm telling them, like, I know them better than they know themselves. Like they're like, I don't know. Let me look at the medication. Oh yeah, it is amlodipine. Oh yeah, it is, metformin, right? Doing stuff like that, guys, is going to differentiate you from everybody else, and it shows like your stuff, right? And so that's really, really big. I do that, and I don't even think about it when I'm doing it, because I'm literally just trying to get to the bottom of it and get the medication. But thinking about it, like from the client's perspective, that's going to make them feel that you are very good at what you do and you know what you're talking about, right? So that's big. Questions that you guys are asking. So I'm gonna go over the questions that you're asking. on the next one here. So we'll talk about questions that you're asking here in a second, because these are the things you should be doing. Okay. The next thing here is starting to build value and talking about the will kit. Okay. Now we can start to build value in the suitability. So when we're back here, and I'm just going to keep referencing back, is once you get to the end, okay, so after you get through the medications, I ask them, do they have life insurance or not? We'll go through a little mock, going through the suitability on here. But when I get to the end, I always ask them, the last thing I always ask them, and hey, do you have a will set up in place? Okay. A lot of times we're talking about final expenses, right? What goes along with, dying, right? Is a will. People knowing what to do with their assets, their pets, right? Their belongings, things like that, the way they want things done for their family. So a will is just a great way to actually just, help them. And it doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't cost them any money. It's just a value add-on. I go, so the way that I say is then, hey, John, do you have a will set up? No, I don't have a will. Awesome. Do you need any assistance with that? Because we have access to a free will kit. Yeah, no, I've been wanting to get that done. A lot of times, guys, they don't got it, and they go, yeah, I've been needing to get that done. I need to get that done. Okay, perfect. Well, what I'm going to do, John, I tell them what I'm going to do. Hey, what's a good email? I'm going to email that over to you. And then I explain how to do it. I say, I'm going to put the instructions in the email. I can send you guys, I'll shoot out the email to all you guys in here. The email that I send it with a link. And you just tell them, hey, when you get that link, click on it. It takes, shouldn't take you too long. It's going to fill it out. Basically, they fill it out. It's actually really easy, the process. And it makes them a PDF. They just have to print it out and go get it notarized. It's good for 5 years. It's completely free. Cool. Now you just gave them a bunch of value, and you haven't even showed them prices. You haven't even now they feel like you've already given them something. Okay. So I think building that value with the will kit, I think just differentiates you from everybody else. It shows that you really kind of care about them and actually the whole situation. And you're looking at it from a whole. You're not just going, buy insurance. You're going, hey, are your belongings taken care of? Where's, your pet Timmy? Where's Timmy going if something happens yesterday, right? And they have that in the will kit. So it's really important. Okay. Another thing I'm thinking about when I'm doing this is, can we save money or add on coverage? Okay. So now when you're going through this, you see that section right here that says life insurance, yes or no. The notes. Okay. They have, so something I'll ask, I'll say, hey, so do you have other life insurance in place currently? Yes, I do. Okay, perfect. What company is that with? Whatever company, Mutual of Omaha. Okay, perfect. Is that a term or a whole life? I think it's a term. Okay, how much coverage is it? It's 10,000. So we all know that term doesn't go under 25,000, or if you don't, now you do, right? Term doesn't really go under 25,000. So we know that's actually probably a whole life, right? So you'll learn that as you go, but that's, but the important thing is to figure out what they have, right? And figure out how much they're paying on a monthly basis and how long ago that they got it. Because if they got it in the last 6 months or last year, I mean, we can probably save them money or even just get them more coverage, right? Now, if they got it 20 years ago, I'm thinking we're going to add on coverage. If it's a whole life they got 20 years ago, because we're not going to beat that. So then I might ask them, and how long ago you had that? Oh, I've had it for 15 years, 20 years. It's a $25,000 whole life. Okay, perfect. How much are you paying for that? This. Okay, perfect. So now, John, what was your main concern? You just wanted to add on coverage to make sure that your beneficiary, Sarah, doesn't have to, come out of pocket for those costs, or what would be the purpose of this? I'm trying to nail down the specific reason for why this one. If you already have something, why this one, right? Are you just trying to add on to what you already have? Like I'm assuming they want to add on. Okay. So I think being really assumptive if they already have coverage, because they were looking into it, you're in the appointment. They already told you, if we go back, right, they told you who it's for and why they need it before. So you just got to kind of differentiate that now, so you don't get to the price and they go, well, I already kind of have something. I don't really, you don't want to get that far. You want to nail it right here. Okay, so you already have some coverage in place, John. So now is this just going to be more money left behind for family? Is this to take care of any debts, or kind of what would be the purpose of this? You just want to have a little bit extra just in case because inflation, all the crazy stuff going on. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Now I'm getting that permission from them to go, yes, I want more insurance. I need more. I'm already good with what I have. I know we're not going to touch it. I know we're not going to replace it. I know we're not going to beat the price, but it doesn't matter because I want more. And this is the reason why. So it's really good to make things super, super clear. And it's going to help you close at such a higher level because now you're not getting to the prices. They're going, well, I don't know. Do I need it? Because I don't know. This one's cheaper because I got it 20 years ago. And you're going, no, remember, John, we already talked about it. That one's for this. This one's for this. Right. So that's going to be a big thing that I'm thinking about. If they already have coverage, can we save them money or add on benefits? Or do we just want to add on to what they already have? And we're always assuming that they want to add on coverage. Okay, so the reason we're talking today, because you already have something that you got 10 years ago, is because, or it could be, guys, that they have a term that's expiring. So that's why we got to ask them, is it a term? Is it a whole life? If it's a term, hey, when does that expire? They should know that. They should know when it expires. And if they don't know, well, then you just expose them and now you're the professional, right? And they're going, oh, shoot, I don't know when it expires. Okay, cool. That's something we should know. So go grab your policy and let's take a look, right? Because I can't make a recommendation without knowing exactly like what you have in place. Okay, so I think that also makes you more of a professional. You're actually looking at the scope of their whole situation. You're not going, all right, 10,000 is $55, 15,000 is 87, and 20,000 is this. Which one makes the most sense for you? You're actually kind of painting the picture and you're looking at the whole scope of everything. And the more you can do that, the more that they're going to buy. So those are the objectives. Before I go on to the common questions, and I'll put them on the screen here. Actually, let me come back here because I don't know. I'm not.
Then Tyler, I don't know if you can see in the chat, but you're going to. Right?
No, I'm going to the chat now. Top down for. Okay, so what's the question?
I was just asking if that's the point where people to clear out the non-buyers, because typically when I ask like, hey, so what's this for? I actually had a few people just like say, oh, I already have it, and then kind of hang up. And then I kind of skipped that question. And then I got bit in the ass because then a guy said, oh, well, I already have VA coverage. And I was like, dang, I should have asked that question. So I'm like, is that where you find who the non-buyers are and who the buyers?
Yes. Yeah, no, it's a really good question. Because what you're doing is you're weeding out the people that aren't serious. They're just kind of quote shopping. So you're really getting to the point of, okay, you already have something in place. Why are you still looking, right? You're not satisfied. Like, what is it? Because if you got this 10, 20 years ago, we can't beat the price. You know what I mean? And so I think so it's never, so just know if it's over, I would say over 5 years ago, honestly, I would be just looking to add on unless it's a term. Because if it's a term, it might be expiring. And that makes a lot of sense why we're on the phone right now, because that's going to go away and Sarah's not going to be protected. So we got to look at what options are out there right now, because when that goes away or the price increases, we got to have something in place, right? So yeah, so that's where you weed out the non-buyers and you can really, really nail down the why of why you're on the phone and why they need it for that specific reason. The more specific you can get, the better.
And Tyler, like, I feel like what he was saying about the VA coverage too, it's like at this point of the life insurance, yes or no, you already know their budget too. So it's like, if you know they have room in their budget and they're saying they're using the VA rebuttal or stuff like that, is that where you're pretty much just killing the objection and making it make sense so you don't get the like objection later? Is that what you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
like sometimes they're not non-buyers. Sometimes you just have to make it sense. Like when people say they have VA coverage, it's like, oh, well, how much do you really have? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and that's, yeah, no, that's a good point. I think if you get to this point and they're sitting with you going through the suitability sheet, I think that they're somewhat interested in what it is. I think that's going to come really in the beginning. And we're kind of doing this like backwards. We're going through like, we're kind of doing it backwards a little bit with like the flow of how it goes. But I think that if you get to this point and they have VA coverage, take some time to learn about the different types of like VGLI, right? The different VA benefits. A lot of people think that, oh, the VA is going to pay for my burial. No, they're not. You can look it up. I think it's like, depending on how much they serve, it's like they get like up to like $1,500 or something like that. And then so that could be a whole other training we could talk about too, is like how to do that. But I think getting just specific for it. Okay, you have this much with these people that you've had for this long. So I'm just assuming, John, that you want this because of X, Y, and Z for Sarah, for your beneficiary, correct? Yeah. Okay, cool. Now it's like you already you acknowledged it, that it's there, and we're going on to the next thing, and we're going to figure out the purpose, why you need more and why that this is. And the more specific you can get, the better. So, yeah. Okay, cool. So here's some good questions to ask, guys. When you're going through the suitability sheet, you guys can, screenshot this. Good questions to ask that I forgot to ask in the beginning, the things that I get declined, or I get screwed up and I don't get approved so many times. You guys learn what questions to ask and what to go through, right? So number one, how long ago were you diagnosed, right? So they go, yeah, I had a heart attack. Okay, how long ago did that happen? Or, yeah, I have diabetes. Okay, how long ago were you diagnosed, right? Because if you guys we're going to go over underwriting probably next week, right? So how long ago were you diagnosed? Well, we know with Mutual of Omaha, if they were diagnosed diabetes before 45, IUL in term is out of the question for them. So then we're probably going to be looking maybe more at Americo, right? Or we're going to be looking for a different term. We might be going Ethos. It might be something else, right? So just that one question right there can figure out if it's diabetes. Okay, this carrier, right? So this is going to lead into the underwriting, and that's why I think we're going to do underwriting next week, because these two go together so well. So how long ago were you diagnosed? Okay, what medications were you used to take but you're not taking anymore? So I always, after I go through everything, that's one of the last questions I ask too. So what medications did you used to take but maybe you aren't taking anymore? Because a lot of people are prescribed medications but they don't take them, or they used to be prescribed and they don't take them anymore. That's still going to be on their MIB record when we go to run their health check. Okay, so asking, hey, can you guys think of any medications you used to take that you aren't taking anymore? I've had people go, yeah, I had an inhaler I was using because I got pneumonia. Okay, what was the inhaler? Oh, it was Trilogy. Okay, cool. You guys Google Trilogy. It's a COPD inhaler. Now, depending on the look back period, right? Haley figured this out the other day. I didn't even know. The look back period with AMM is it's like 3 years or it's 5 years or something. You can get immediate coverage if they used to have like a COPD inhaler, but if they haven't for the last 3 or 5 years, I can't remember exactly what it was, but you can get immediate coverage if they have that in their record. So boom, I like that. I'm going there, right? Or I'm going to Standard Aetna, or not an underwriting training, but it's just important to know. It's going to help you figure out the underwriting a lot easier. Are you using any assistive devices? This is really important for virtual. I know we're going a couple minutes over, guys. We're just about finished up, but are you using any assistive devices? Okay, so if you're not looking at them, you're not in person. Hey, are you using any assistive devices? Do you have are you using a cane? Are you using a walker? Are you confined to a wheelchair? Figure that out because if they're in a wheelchair, you guys know who have sold insurance before, that's AIG, right? So are you using any assistive devices? Number 4, how long ago did you start taking the medication? That kind of goes with when I was talking about the diabetes. Hey, you were diagnosed 42 with diabetes. How long ago did you start taking medication for it? When you were 42? Okay, cool. So figuring out how long ago did you start taking the medication? And then also, I guess that's number 6 here, but and then are you seeing any specialists for that? So if they got a stint, right, and then they've had a heart attack before, maybe it was 6 years ago or something, and they have a stint, and I'm trying to figure out if they have congestive heart failure or any other heart issues. I'm going, okay, and John, are you seeing any specialists for that? Yeah, I see a cardiac doctor once every 2 weeks. It's okay, that's probably a good chance that he's got some pretty serious heart issues. So we got to be looking out for that. And I got to go into a little bit more underwriting and asking those questions for the heart, right? And then, or kidneys too. That's a big one. You see a lot of kidney specialists for, and they have chronic kidney disease, right? And so that's, I just had a lady what was this, like last, I think it was this weekend, man. Yeah, it was like it was on Friday or Saturday. She I couldn't figure out, she was getting declined, and I couldn't figure out exactly what was going on. And so I went to AMAM, and then I went through, and she used to see a kidney specialist, and she was taking some, like, I've never even seen this medication, and I've been doing this for a little bit, guys. I've seen a lot of clients, and I was like, I've never even seen this medication. I don't even know what this is. And so, but if I would have asked her if she used to see a specialist, you know, I would have probably figured that out. I would have been able to figure that out, and not waste my time, get declined 2 or 3 carriers, right? And then, you know, I could have just went straight to the one that I know is going to approve her, right? So, are you seeing any specialists? And the last one here is, when's the last time you were hospitalized or had surgery, and why? So, when's the last time you were hospitalized, John? 2 years ago. Okay, why was that? Well, I was hospitalized because of pneumonia. Okay, how long were you hospitalized? 3 days. Okay, did you get any medications prescribed for that? Yeah, I got an inhaler. Okay, cool. What's the inhaler? Okay, you know, so you want to really dig into stuff, guys, and that's really going to help you figure out exactly what's on their medical record, so you can have a really smooth process. So when you give them the numbers the first time and you build the value for whatever product the first time, it goes through. Now, it's not going to go through every single time, because some people lie, some people just aren't honest, or some people just don't, you know, completely remember what's going on, right? And these, you know, some of these folks we're working with are pretty old. I just helped an 85-year-old woman this weekend, right? And so that was the one who, you know, had this like kidney thing, right? And so so those are good questions to ask, guys. I think that's pretty much everything I have. What I want to do, if you guys have a couple more minutes here, I was asked if you guys to run down the suitability sheet top to bottom as if I was presenting to a client. So we'll just take an extra 5 minutes and do this real quick here. Does dosage matter? Brandon, no, usually dosage does not matter. That's a great question though. Dosage usually doesn't matter for life. So let's see here. Okay, guys. So okay, so I'm gonna go through this really quick here, guys. An extra 5 minutes here to go over the client suitability with you guys. Okay, so now the order that I do it in is I start at the top, right? You go. It looks like this one for you. This one you go top down. I do it a little bit differently, but you can do it. I mean, either way, it's fine. So when I get to, so now this is, I come off of explaining the process, right? After I explain the process to the client, and we can do a whole training. We'll do a whole Money Monday on that. But once I explain to the client, hey, I told them they should know at this point, I'm going to ask a couple minutes of some financial questions to figure out what's, you know, making sure no food's being taken off the table. And I'm going to ask them 2 to 3 minutes of health questions to figure out which one of our 20 A-rated carriers is going to offer them the best coverage, if we can find them any discounts or anything like that. Okay. And they should know at this point, we're going to send a request to the carrier as long as they find something that, you know, makes sense to their budget and what they're looking for. Okay. Now, and then, so we'll get to it here. So John, I usually go, John, how do you spell your last name? Cool. We will go through it here. We'll get their last name. Okay. And then John, what's your date of birth? Okay, perfect. Are you working, retired, or disabled? You might already know this, guys, from when you booked the appointment, or if you talked to them earlier. You know, so if you already have this information, try not to ask the same information 2 or 3 times, because it just makes you look like you don't listen, you don't really care. So if they already told you they're retired before, I go to occupation, I go, yeah, and you're retired, right, John? Awesome, awesome. And guys, this is where we can also start to build a little bit of rapport with the client. And so I'll ask them really briefly, you know, hey, what'd you used to do before? You retired. What'd you used to do before? Oh, you know, I served in the military for 20 years. Oh my gosh, wow. Well, thank you for your service. What branch? Air Force. Awesome. That's great. I'm really brief. I spend like literally 10 seconds on it, 30 seconds on it max, right? But I just, you know, I ask them a little question, and I think those little tiny things where you start to build rapport do add up over time. So what'd you do before? Boom. Okay, perfect. And how I ask the monthly income. And then John, from retiring from the Air Force, what's your approximate monthly income, right? What's your income on a monthly basis approximately? I always say approximately, ballpark, stuff like that, because It just makes it a little bit less like sales pressure, I think. So approximate, what's your monthly income? Oh, it's 3,500. Okay, great. Now I come down here. Now, John, are you, do you have a mortgage? Are you renting where you're at right now? You have a mortgage? Okay, perfect. I'll put the mortgage amount. And then this is for, a lot of these questions are for mortgage protection clients. I usually, if it's a final expense client, I don't fill any of this out. All I fill out is the mortgage or the rent, and then what's their monthly payment, right? And you can ask them what their monthly savings is. Hey, at the end of the month, about how much money is left over, how much are you saving every month on approximately on a monthly basis, right? Approximately, ballpark, right? Okay, you have a mortgage, and it's okay. Approximately how much is that per month? Okay, it's 2,000 a month. Okay, so 2,000 a month for the mortgage. Okay, moving on to the next thing here. So boom, I know they make 3,500 a month, 2,000 for their mortgage. Okay, so he's got 1,500 left he's working with, and that's not including, you know, car bills, things like that. So it's going to be okay. We got a little bit of a tighter budget here. This is how we're figuring out what numbers to show, right? So, and then you can ask him, and approximately at the end of the month, John, you know, approximately how much are you saving per month? You know, a lot of times clients, oh, I don't save anything, because, you know, this economy, right? That's where we got to really build the value in what we're doing, because they do need it. They actually, those are the people that really need this the most, right? So I'd say, you know, ballpark is like $50, right? Maybe $50 at the end of the month. Okay, cool, $50. All right. All right, and then John, now I guess you could just do this here to make it easy, go straight down. I usually will go to the medical stuff from that portion, because but you can go straight to this. This is totally fine. Okay, John, and then do you have anything that or do you have any life insurance now currently? Yes, and then just everything we just talked about, guys, you know, figure out how what company, term or whole life, how long ago they got it, what their monthly payment is. Those are the things you want to know. And then you're going to start to think about that. Okay. Now, next thing. All right, John. Now, do you have anything that acts like life insurance that will pass on to a beneficiary in the event of your passing, like a 401k, IRA, stocks, bonds, funds, mutual funds, savings? Figure out what they have. Figure out what they have. And they go, yeah, I have a 401k. Yeah, I have stocks. And yeah, I have some savings. Okay, cool. So I'll circle 401k, stocks, savings, and go. And John, in that 401k, approximately, how much do you have in 401k? It's 30,000.
Tyler, what do you say when they go, why do you need to know all of this? I thought it was just for life insurance.
Yeah, so the reason, John, that we would need, and honestly, guys, I don't really ever get asked that question, I personally. But if you did get asked that question, well, John, my job is not just to get you insurance and get you to try to get you as much insurance as possible. My job is to take a look at your full scope of your financial situation and figure out how much that you need, or to see if you actually even need something like this. Does that make sense? If I don't know your financial situation, I can't make a professional recommendation. Okay. So, and I'm really glad you asked that, Haley, because sometimes you guys have to stick up for yourselves. You're the doctor. Okay. You are the professional. So they need to listen to you. You're the one asking the questions. Okay. So you need to make sure you build that relationship. And I think that if you do a good job from the beginning and you put yourself in that position, you won't really get asked that question a lot. But if you do get asked, you know, hey, I need to know your whole financial situation, so I know if, number one, if you even need something like this, and number two, so I can make a professional recommendation on, you know, if you even do need something like this, or how much you would need to take care of Sarah, because you shared with me it was really important that blank, 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 right? So okay, cool. Yeah, and then so after I circle each one, I get those numbers. Okay, how much in the 401k approximately? And then you don't want to say how much you have in your savings account, right? How much you have in your 401k? It's not like that. It's the way you ask it. So it's like, and John, approximately in your savings account, what would you say, you know, approximately you would have in there? You're asking it in like a kind of a light way. You're not super direct, you know. Approximately, I'm always saying that. You guys have heard me say it 1,000 times. Approximately, what's your mortgage? Approximately, what's your monthly income? Approximately, blah, 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 right? What's your monthly payment? So I'm always saying that. Okay, cool. The reason we ask that, though, in reality is because obviously we're trying to get into annuities and things like that. And this is not the time of training for that. But go watch annuity and tradings if you guys want to know more about that. Okay, cool. Now coming down here to the medical questions. Okay, so really straightforward, guys. You're just going to read the questions. Okay, And usually I'll preface it with something like this. All right, John, I'm going to ask you specifically about you. This is not about a family history, because I don't want the client going on and on and on about, oh, my grandpa had diabetes, and my mom had cancer and this and that. I don't want to go on this whole soapbox of like the super long, like I'm trying to get through this. So I'm going, all right, John, these are going to apply directly to you. We're not talking about like a family history, but this is just you personally, your personal history. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, cool. Have you ever been diagnosed with high blood pressure? Yes. Okay, cool. Are you taking lisinopril and amlodipine? Like I said, guys, go and take a little bit of time to learn common. And once you do this enough times, you guys will learn the common high blood pressure medications. You'll learn the common diabetes medications. You'll learn, a lot of the common medications that we use. Epilepsy or seizures. Are you taking Keppra? Right. You're going to learn these things as you go. So you don't have to be perfect and memorize everything, but you're going to learn it as you go, and just be intentional with it. Because if you do know, show them that you know, show them that you've done this before, show them that you're a professional. So high blood pressure, you're taking anything for cholesterol, diabetes, are you taking the pills or just insulin for that? Okay, cool. Are you diagnosed with any neuropathy, like nerve pain? No. Okay. Any tumors? No. Okay. Have you ever been diagnosed with cancer? Okay. Lupus, Parkinson's, taking anything for anxiety, depression? Do you have any DUIs or felonies? Okay. Any history of any heart attack, stroke, cardiomyopathy, stents, bypass, like it's like surgery, AFib, regular heartbeat, angioplasty, it's like a heart surgery thing. Angina is like chest pain, heart valve disease, heart failure or disease, congestive heart failure. That's a big knockout for a lot of the carriers. So I like to get that out of the way. Any liver problems, kidney problems like cirrhosis, chronic kidney disease, hepatitis A, B, C, liver failure. Do you have any asthma, COPD, emphysema? For the lungs, I always ask, are you prescribed any inhalers? Okay, how many inhalers? When did you get the inhalers? Because people kind of forget about inhalers because it's not a pill. So talk about inhalers. Are you taking anything, like that? Okay, cool. Then down at the bottom, just read through it, guys. It's pretty, straightforward. Okay. And then after you get that, you get the height, weight, smoker, non-smoker. And then from there, what you're going to do if you're a new agent and you don't really know or understand how to do the underwriting yet, you're going to go, hey, I have a pretty good idea of what we're going to do here, John, to make sure we can, leave behind money for whoever or take care of the final expenses for, your beneficiary. I'm like 99% sure what I want, what we can do, but just to be safe on the safe side, I want to make sure we're putting your family in the best spot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to my product specialist. It'll just take me about 1 to 2 minutes, and I'm going to double check with them just to make sure we can find you the best rates. Actually, I wouldn't even say the best rates. I would say the best program to make sure that we get you guys the best benefits. Okay. I avoid saying cost, rates, quotes, stuff like that. I don't want them to be thinking about that. I want to be talking about like the programs, right? And then people are usually really thankful. They're like, yeah, like I want the best thing. I want the best deals. Yeah, cool. Sweet. And then you just take a picture of this or, screenshot it on your device, whatever, send it to me or whoever your manager is. Or even if your manager is not available for whatever reason, just send it to me. And I'd be happy to help you guys with figuring out what carrier to go with. That's kind of the whole process for the suitability. And so that is honestly everything I have, guys. Let me see, take a look at the chat here. More sticks on how many different meds are yeah. So ballpark approximately, give or take, about XYZ good annuity trainings for what they do, 401k, IRAs, significant savings. Yeah, those are all really good trainings on like annuity stuff like that, guys. And so yeah, guys, I think that's about everything. I know we've been going over with all these. It's a lot, but hopefully you guys learned something. If you guys have any last minute questions while we're here, be happy to answer any questions or comments or anything. Would be super happy to help you guys with whatever. But if that's everything, we're going to be jumping on the Prime Group room. We're actually going to be still on here. And so, we're gonna get to dialing, and if you guys want to hear some dials, we're gonna be on here. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much everything for me. Appreciate you all for jumping on. And yeah, we'll be sending out an email. If I don't have your guys' email, I don't have some of your guys' emails. Text me if you don't have my number. Pretty sure everybody here has my number, but if you don't have my number, I'm gonna drop it in the chat. Text me your email, and then I'm sending out an email of some of these like key things we're talking about, and I'll send you like the will kit email and all that stuff that I send to clients. So just send that over. But yeah, appreciate you guys. We're gonna get on dials here, so I'm gonna be right here, and I think we're gonna be jumping on some dials. So appreciate you guys.